When I think about the difference between spontaneous giving and generosity, I think about the power of water. If you know anything about water, you know that it causes erosion. You deal with this at home if you've got flower beds, because the water, will wash out the soil, it'll wash out the mulch. I have like this exposed wall of dirt beside my driveway. And every time it rains, it likes to fill my driveway with mud. And that's just lovely. I guess that's one benefit of not having too much rain the past forever. But we don't have a mud driveway anymore. And so what happens is, of course, this happens with rock as well. And it's hard to believe, but great canyons can be created and are created through the power of water. But I've got a rock right here. It's still pretty cold. It slept outside last night. You don't really bring your rocks inside. So, this rock right here, and I've got a cup of water, and you know that if I take this cup of water and I pour it on this rock, the rock, it's going to get wet. I mean, that's it. Like, that's all that happens. The rock gets wet, and it's dirty, so it may be cleaned off a little bit. But that's like spontaneous generosity. You just see a rock, and you pour a little bit of water on it. Nothing really substantial happens to the rock, right? Other than it gets wet, and if it's a pretty rock, you might see some like shiny things that are happening and going on in the rock. But that's just water, and you pour it, and there's more in here, and nothing is going to happen other than it gets wet. But the thing is, the power of water over a period of time could make a huge impact. I mean, if I had this cup of water and I stood here for weeks, nothing would happen. But if I kept standing here and pouring water over and over on this rock, things would start to form. The rock would start to erode. There's this park in British Columbia. I think we've got a picture of this if you put it up. There's this park in British Columbia, and maybe you've seen this before, but it's a demonstration of what erosion looks like. And there's this pipe that goes above this stone, and on the left side you can see it says 15 years of water erosion, so that water's been falling down for 15 years, and it looks pretty unaffected, similar to just pouring on this rock. It looks pretty unaffected by the water, but there's a small little crevice that you can find underneath that water. And then if you fast forward for 10 years and see that 25 years of erosion, you see there's a bigger divot, a more of a canyon that started to form. And the same drop of water over 50 years, you start to see how the rock is really moving and getting to a place where eventually it's going to split in half. Eventually that rock, that stone, you're not going to be able to see it in the way. The cup of water only pouring onto it makes very little difference. But water applied time after time, day after day, it makes a huge difference. And such it is with intentional generosity. When you see a gift, a spontaneous gift, it can make you feel good. It can make you excited to be able to do something. But when you begin to compound that with a plan of intentional generosity, of giving month in, month out, week in, week out, to something of importance, whether it's church or some other type of thing, you can begin to see what it's like to have an eternal impact. I mean, the canyons that we see around us were not created in a matter of days or weeks. They're created in years and years of impact and exposure to water. And this is how it is with planned and intentional giving. Spontaneous giving feels good, but intentional generosity, it makes an eternal difference. Each act of intentional generosity, no matter how small it may seem today, contributes to a greater and more profound impact over time. Just like the slow drip of water creates movements and creates shapes and rocks that a single pour never could, intentional generosity shapes lives and communities in deep and enduring ways. It allows God to break through and bring miracles in real ways in people's lives. Spontaneous giving feels good, but intentional generosity makes an eternal difference.